Hi there, this video is about what I call the universal fingering for 3-octave arpeggios. It may turn out to be a fingering that you already know because I know some people teach it as their primary 3-octave arpeggio fingering, but I usually use this fingering for 3-octave arpeggios when I start teaching them. And that fingering you shift up on your thumb. Not everybody likes to do that, and so this is an alternative for that. There's a PDF that goes along with this, and the PDF doesn't actually have notes on it, it just has a chart of the fingerings. So here are the rules for my universal fingering. Rule number 1, you start on the C string for all the arpeggios. So obviously when you're starting on these notes that are low, you're starting on the C string, but even for the notes that are normally started on the G string, you're going to start on the C string. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, you play 3 notes on each string. So for instance, if I start with, I'll do B major. That was 3 notes on the C string. Now I'm and even it goes up really high on C. 3 notes on G. 3 notes on D. And then the top note. It's the same fingering for every single arpeggio. This is why I call it universal. So you don't even need to know like the pesky things about what notes am I playing. You can just kind of start and go. So rule number 3, the fingering is on every string past the very first positions, and I'll talk about that in a second. 2 shift to 1, 3, 2 shift 1, 3, 2 shift 1, 3. So in each string you're going to go 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. You shift always up to 1. When you come back, you'll go 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, shift down to 2, 3, 1, shift down to 2. So let me show you that. Here I am on an F. 2, shift up to 1, 3. G string, 2, shift, 1, 3, D string, 2, 1, 3, and then there's a top note. So coming down, I go 3, 1, 2. Remember, I have to do 3 notes on the same string. So 3, 1, 2 is my shift. 3 notes on the next string. 3 notes on the C string. So it's pretty simple to remember. Execution is a little complicated if you haven't played up this high on the cello, but it's not a harder arpeggio fingering than the ones that shift up into the thumb. And in fact, when we do the arpeggios that shift up really high onto the thumb, those sometimes feel very awkward when you do that, the other 3-octave fingering, and this is one of the reasons why people like this one, especially for arpeggios that start higher on the cello, because you're not shifting up on your thumb. There's no thumb at all on this arpeggio. Okay, so then the other thing that you need to know is that starting note doesn't need to be on a second finger. You can start on a second finger, and in fact, then you can keep consistent going 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. The problem is, like, you're not going to start on a second finger when you're starting on a D flat back here. That would, I mean, I guess you could, but it seems like that doesn't make sense. The very lowest notes, you're going to start with a slightly different pattern. It doesn't work to go 2, 1, 3 because, for instance, C major, open string, I'm going to go 1, and then I'm going to go 4 instead of 3 because it's too wide to do 3 there. So my fingering for C major starts with 3 slightly different fingerings. 0, 1, 4, and now I go to G string. Now I have 2, 1, 3. So similarly, D flat is going to go 1, 1. I'm still, my second note is still always a first finger. 1, 1, 4. D major, 1, 1, 4. E flat major, so now E flat, I would start on a 2, but it's going to go 2, 1, 4, because 3 is still not really a viable alternative. E major, you can start on a 2 if you're trying to keep the pattern, maintain the pattern, but doesn't matter what fingering you start on at all, as long as you can keep track of the pattern as you go. So 3, 1, 4. So I started on the C string and I'm working my way up, and F is the first arpeggio where I actually can use my 3rd finger. So 2, 1, 3. There's my real pattern. 2, 1, 3. So from F and up, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, all those scales, I can go 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. It's just those lower things that are below F. You can't really use your 3rd finger on the C string. It's too far reach. So then the other consideration is minor arpeggios versus major arpeggios. So the major arpeggio pattern is slightly more comfortable because when I go up here, that 1 to 3 is not super wide, and when I put my 2 on, my 2 is close to my 1. My 2 is a half step distance away from the 1. If I do the minor version of that same arpeggio, this is G. So my 2nd note is a lower note, right? I'm hearing the minor sound. But now I need to reach wide for that one, and now my 2 is going to be right in between them. So in other words, when I do the minor arpeggio, that 1st finger is on a flat note. It's on a note that was half a step lower. So major one more time. That's my high 3rd. My 3 and my 2 are in the same place, but my 1 is a half step higher than it's going to be with minor. So then the minor shape. Again, my 3 and my 2 are in the same place they were before, but my 1st finger is lower. And that works for every major and every minor. And again, when you're doing something lower, when you're going to be doing D minor, you're going to use 4th finger, which means now you're in an extension position with your thumb forward and a big space between 1 and 2. So for the low minor arpeggios, we do call it extension position as we come in here. We don't call it extension position when it's up in the higher ranges of the cello. It's just a wide stretch. Okay, if that was super confusing, go study the PDF and hopefully you will figure out what it is that you're doing. Good luck.